Hey everybody, it's Sarah with A Thrifty Mom. Today we're making Ooey Gooey Bars. Some people call them dream bars, some people call them 7-layer bars, some people call them graham cracker bars. I don't know why we call them Ooey Gooey Bars, that's just what we've always called them. I have kind of transitioned the recipe over the years, so that link is actually to the recipe like how I first learned to make them like 10 years ago. And then I have made some variations in that recipe. As you guys know, that's how I am. I'm really bad at following recipes the way they should be. I kind of always put my own twist on them. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So I have a pan, and once again, I make them in all different sizes of pans. Normally I make them in this giant pan, which is like, actually this is a somewhat smaller pan. I normally make them in the biggest Pyrex pan I can. I kind of like triple the batch, but for the sake of this recipe, hey Leslie, hey Carol, hey Trisha, hey Gwen. I'm actually kind of Martha Stewarting it, and I have one in there kind of getting ready so I can show you the different steps, and hopefully it won't take as long. But this, just for sake of the video, this is an 8x11 pan, and I'm going to put 1 stick of butter in. In the original recipe that it says, come on, let me put this in here real fast. It's going to tell you to put that butter, in the pan, and then put the pan in the oven on 350 for about 7 minutes until the butter melts. That's still a great way to do it. I've just found that you can actually put it in the microwave too, and it makes the process a little faster. So you can follow the original recipe and just put the pan, basically all you're trying to do is get the pan hot and you're trying to melt your butter. So you can do either the oven or the microwave, whichever one works best for you. The original recipe also tells you to start with a package of graham crackers, and then you have to pound those graham crackers. That is the cheaper option. That's the cheapest option, okay? I always found though, smashing the graham crackers became like, it's not difficult to smash the graham crackers, but I didn't always get like the super baby fine powdery consistency that makes these the absolute best, if that makes sense. So instead of using a package of graham crackers, I actually now just buy the pre-crushed graham crackers. And it costs like $1 more than the other option, but to me, that's what I end up doing. Okay, so now that I have splattered my microwave with butter, I don't know why it splattered so much, there must have been a little bit of water in the pan. We have now melted 1 stick of butter. Any recipe that starts with 1 stick of butter is going to be good, right? In the bottom of our pan. We're now going to use 1.5 cups of graham cracker crumbs. I honestly just measure just for the sake of the video, because if I'm being honest, I don't ever measure. I just throw them in because I know about how many needs to be there. But it's 1.5 cups or half a bag of this. I always double the recipe, so I just use 2 sticks of butter and the whole package. But for the sake of the video, don't know, I had those Game Changer. Yeah, they're over by the pies. These are over by the pies, and I think they're normally like about $2.30 a box, or $2.80. Honestly, I always just bought the off-brand graham crackers, or I even bought them from the dollar store most of the time. And so that was just the cheaper option, and that's what I always did. But these just make everything easier. And if you're gonna buy the actual graham cracker brand, it's about the same price. S'mores recipe you posted about a year ago. I love them. Yes, that's one of my favorites too. So Matthew, my oldest son, he's special needs, and he's actually turning 18 on Monday. And this is his favorite treat, and he's been asking me every day since the 1st of November if I made his Ooey Gooey Bars yet. And I keep saying, no buddy, it's for your birthday. But he's having friends over today after school, and so we are making his favorite birthday treat. Okay, so as you saw, at first it's gonna make the part that touches the graham cracker, they're gonna get kind of soggy, and then the rest is going to be really dry. So what you need to do is you need to really make sure that you incorporate that, because you just want all of the graham cracker crumbs to be coated in butter, and you don't want dry patches and you don't want soggy patches. I don't have a food processor, Wendy. Like, I think that's one of those things that, like, as much as I cook, everyone's always shocked that I don't have a food processor. I'm a little frightened by them, and I'm one of those people that if I haven't learned to use a tool, I just always just use what I have, because I don't like learning new things, but I should learn, and I should get a food processor. But I don't have one. And I have tried it in like the Pampered Chef like chopper thing, and it didn't work very good. And I tried it in the Tupperware like pull string one. Honestly, all those, it was just cheaper just to go to these. So if we're on a tight budget for the week, I'll go ahead and get the whole graham cracker off-brand ones. If not, if I'm feeling like I'm living it up, I spend the extra $1 and I get these. Thanks, guys. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the back of my fork and we are pressing this down because we want to create a crust. If you don't press it down, it becomes really crumbly, and the bars, like once they've cooled, the bars just fall apart. They fall apart kind of anyway if they're hot, but once they've cooled, they should be able to be scooped out of the pan and actually be held and ate. So we're just going to go ahead and take the back of our fork and we're going to really pat this all down. Okay, at this point, we're now going to put it in a 350-degree oven for 12 minutes. Okay, and what this is going to do is this is going to now turn into a graham cracker crust, and then I'll show you what's next. Sorry, my nose is running, and I need to wipe it. And if I wipe my nose and then come back on, everybody's going to tell me I'm gross, contaminated, and I shouldn't be allowed to cook for my family. I don't have a food processor either. Okay, so we have, oh wow, you would think I was on a national cooking show. I literally have 2 seconds left till the other one's done. How well was that timed? Feeling pretty proud of myself. Okay, so this is gonna now go in. And these other ones coming out. Timer. So I'm gonna do just 10 minutes because I'm doing convection, and that I'm just gonna turn it down a little bit. But as you can see now, this one, the edges have started to brown, and there's like a nice little fine browning process all on here. And when I shift it, you can tell that it's now baked into a crust. It's no longer like loose graham cracker particles. Okay, so I have granite countertops, so this shouldn't crack it, but just for the sake of not wanting to do something stupid online, I'm gonna put this here. Okay, so now what you need is you need a can of sweetened condensed milk. Mine was out in the garage and it's freezing out there right now, so it looks a little weird because I actually soaked it in hot water. That way it would be easier to pour. And honestly, I quite often do that anyway, even if it's in the summer, just because you want to pour it thin. You see how like loose and liquidy that is. If you don't do that, it's pretty thick. It's kind of like trying to pour mayonnaise on here, and you want like a nice fine liquid. Okay, so we're gonna take half of the can and we're just gonna do like a zebra zigzag pattern over here. Okay, so there's half of our pan in that. And now we're going to add the toppings. So we are going to, you can do whatever you want, but we're going to do, coconut's kind of like, you kind of have to have it for these, but then again, people make it without coconut. So we're gonna put coconut on here, and I'm gonna guess that I probably put about 3/4 of a cup to a cup of coconut. Our family really likes the coconut layer, so I've actually had people taste these that don't like coconut, and they like these, so. All right, so we're gonna put the coconut on there. And then you can use white chocolate chips, just chocolate chips. You can use M&Ms in case, actually the video, what are we having? We're making Ooey Gooey Bars for Matthew's birthday, EK. Okay, so we have found our favorite for these is actually the Nestle's Toll House Butterscotch chips. Magic cookie bar. Like I said, everybody calls them different, something different. So I told you guys how much I love my Small Mart. It's basically the neighborhood Walmart that is next to me. But they don't carry these. And so I have to go to the big Walmart or Albertsons to get these. Which Albertsons just had these on sale last week for $1.99 a bag. So I got some. But these are ones from I've had for a while. Okay, so I don't like a ton of these on. So I just layered it kind of as you see. And then, like I said, you can put anything you want on here. You can put sunflower seeds. You can put nuts. You can put white chocolate chips, cinnamon chips, toffee bits, M&Ms, whatever you want. But this is just the This is the version that we have done that we have found we like the best. And we like the little mini chocolate chips because I guess we're not huge chocolate people in our house. So we like just a little bit of chocolate on there, but not like a ton of chocolate. So that's why we like these little mini semi-sweets. Okay. And then we've also found, my husband hates coconut and he loves the 7-layer bars. See, Michelle, I'm not the only one. She's good. Thanks for asking. In North Dakota, we call them 7-layer bars. Yeah, everybody calls them something different. Okay, and so then these are amazing. And so a lot of times we'll call these actually our cashew bars. When I first started making these, all I could afford was sunflower seeds. And then we had a friend who taught me how to make these. Her daughter was allergic to all nuts. So she always made these with sunflower seeds. So if you have someone who's allergic to nuts in your family, using sunflower seeds on these is actually a really tasty alternative. And that's how we made them for the longest time, because I could get sunflower seeds at the dollar store and we were on a very limited budget and all other versions of nuts were too expensive for us. You can use sliced almonds or you can use cashews. I'm actually gonna do half and half because I have some kids that don't really like the cashews and I have some kids that don't really like the almonds. So I'm just gonna do half of the pan in almonds and then we'll do the other half in cashews. Yeah, we do mini M&Ms too. And you know what? Sometimes, I don't know, do you guys have a holiday, like a Easter, not Easter, do you guys have a trick-or-treat candy that you find that like always ends up with a lot? Like when my kids go, like, are kind of done with their Halloween candy, there's always tons of little packs of M&Ms. My kids like M&Ms, but for some reason they never eat the little packages. And so that was another kind of budget saving tip, was when we were younger, when I was younger and I had little kids, we would always make these with the kids' leftover Halloween candy. And we would put the M&Ms on there and we would put like chopped up like Snickers bars or other things like that on there. So there's lots of different ways that you can make this delicious recipe and kind of cut corners and save a little bit. Yeah, so you can totally make it without nuts. In fact, that's how I originally learned to make it. And without nuts, we put sunflower seeds on here because my friend Eden taught me to make this recipe. And she, well, my Aunt Crystal taught me to make one version of it, and then Eden taught me to make this version. And her daughter was allergic to nuts, and so she always made it with sunflower seeds. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this. I'm not sure what you can and can't see because there's comments in there. But so this half is almonds, and this half is cashews. And as you can see, once again, remember I ran this under hot water, and that way it just made it really easy to pour. And then we just want to go once again kind of in a zigzag pattern, and we want to cover the whole top of this. And you want to make sure that you're using sweetened condensed milk, not evaporated milk. Evaporated milk will be disgusting on here. It will just make it a big soggy mess. This, however, kind of turns it into like a caramely, as it cooks, it turns it into kind of almost like a chewy caramel topping, I guess is how you would maybe say it. Okay, don't want to let any of this go to waste, so we're going to try to scrape that all out. And if the milk isn't warm, if you haven't like ran under warm water, it's going to kind of come out, like I said, in almost as if it's mayonnaise. It's going to come out in blobs, and then it becomes like you have sections of your Ooey Gooey bars that are really gooey, and then you have sections that are kind of dry. So if you can, warm it up, and it definitely speeds up the process a lot. All right, now you bake these, and I need to double check the time, actually. I think you bake them for 15 to 20 minutes, but I can't remember. So the first time I made this, I used the wrong milk. Yeah, Michelle, the wrong milk, so it makes them disgusting. Okay, so this is still hot because it just came out of the oven. So I'm gonna go ahead and use an oven mitt to hold that up, but as you can see, this is what it looks like. I'm gonna put this in the oven. And I have a minute left on those other ones. I'm gonna look to see how long I'm supposed to cook this for, because I don't remember. I have to look back at my own recipe. Okay, so the recipe says 25 to 35 minutes. I don't think I cook them that long anymore. Basically what I'm looking for is I'm looking for them to turn kind of caramely brown on top. If I cook them 30 minutes, I don't know, then they're gonna be too dark and they're gonna be too hard. But 15 minutes. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, Michelle. I think my original recipe is, like I said, I did that recipe 10 years ago and everything's kind of changed. So I was gonna say, I think now in my brain, I'm really bad. Like, I don't look back at recipes, I kind of just make things, and sometimes it means I mess them up a little bit. But I'm pretty sure you now just cook it for like 15 to 20 minutes or until it looks right on top. Right, Sherry? Okay, so the other pan has 45 seconds left. I can go ahead and just show a finished picture at the end, or y'all can make me watch the second pan, but this is gonna then turn into like a 30-minute video. What do you guys wanna do? You guys wanna keep hanging out with me? I don't know, when I watch a cooking video, if I see it's like 40 minutes, I'm like, I don't wanna watch that. But I know y'all are already on here with me. But I have 20 seconds left, and then I basically have to just redo what I just did and then cook it. Like I said, I cooked them in different batches. That way you guys kind of see the process and didn't have to wait for the 10-minute cook in between time. I feel so proud of myself. Planned ahead. Picture. Okay. So yeah, we'll just take a picture then and show you guys the finished product. Let me grab the other one real fast. Okay, so the other one, oops, I gotta set my timer. All right, so I just set my timer for 15 minutes. Watch, watch, watch. Oh, wait, okay. Well, Michelle voted picture, but it looks like we have a bunch of other people that want to watch. So if you want to watch me make these again, we totally can. Okay, so once again, this is a super hot pan. And what you're looking for is you're looking for the edges. Do you see how the edges turn brown? And then just midway in between, a lot of it turned kind of golden brown. And when you wiggle it, it's no longer a bunch of loose graham cracker crumbs. It's now turned into, can you picture with the recipe? Yes, I can do that. Okay. So once again, we're gonna go back to the can. It was soaking in hot water. That's why it looks a little weird. You know, and so that was one of the original, that was the original one where you just put all the sweetened condensed milk on the bottom. And as you can see, after making these for 10 years, I really like to put half of the milk on the bottom, and then I put the other half of the milk on top. I found it just got like an overall lot better. You ladies that make these, how do you do it? Do you do all the milk on the bottom? Or do you do it how I did it, where you split it half and half? The oven buzzer went off. I was like, what's in the oven? Sounds like mine. Okay, so we have that. Now we're gonna add the coconut. You know what, I'm gonna measure this just for kicks and giggles. I was gonna say, I think it's 3 handfuls, which is normally probably about a cup. Which is about a, yep. Watch. Okay, if you guys wanna hang on, I'll just keep on. And the rest of y'all, well, we lost about 50 people, so clearly 50 people were like, I ain't watching you again, lady, you're crazy. It's fine. Okay, yeah, so a cup of coconut is what we did. And then from Greece, wow. I don't think you'll be able to find butterscotch chocolate chips in Greece. Maybe, I don't know. But you could definitely find some other yummy ingredients to put on there. Okay, so there's the butterscotch chips. And here is, I love anything with coconut. I like coconut too. Okay, so one thing I'm going to tell you guys is I get people all the time that say, hey, remember that recipe you posted? Da, 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 da. I can't find it anymore. And then you guys want me to go back and find it. Sometimes if I have time, I do that, but a lot of times I don't have time to do that. So if this is a recipe that you think you would like to make, or you want to go back and try to find later, or maybe make it for Thanksgiving next week, I would encourage you to go ahead and just share it to your page, or you can actually click save to my timeline, like save, and then you can go back and find it in your saved stuff, because I don't always have the ability to go back and find these things for you. I hate coconut. Puts hair on my tongue. You know what, you can make this without coconut. It just isn't quite the same, but you could totally make it without it. Okay, so this half, we're doing sliced almonds. And like I said, if you're just watching and you can't have nuts, you can totally do this with, instead of the almonds, you can do this with sunflower seeds. Not like the shelled ones, not like the ones that have the shells that like you eat at the ballpark. Okay, so now we're just putting these cashews on here. I keep my cashews in the freezer. Anybody else do that? That way I actually keep all my nuts in the freezer. They're too expensive to let them go bad. So I keep them in there, and it keeps them from going rancid. Okay. So there is my nuts. What could you use as a substitute to coconut? I don't know. Anybody else have any ideas? Basically, you would just eliminate it and put more other toppings on there. You'd just put probably more nuts and chocolate and things. I don't know. That's one of those things I would appreciate other people's feedback, because I'm not having anything come to mind right off the bat. But I have a feeling someone's made these. I know someone's made these in the world before that doesn't like coconut, and they figured out a good solution. You could totally put raisins in them, but my family would disown me if I put raisins in these. Take their favorite treat and put a raisin in it, they'd be like, Mom! Pecans would be awesome. Yes, pecans would be awesome. By the way, I just bought a bag of pecans from Costco to make pecan bars for Thanksgiving next week or the week after, whenever Thanksgiving is. And I was all excited because the bag was only 12 bucks, but they have like shrunk the bag so much. I was like, wow, this is not the same size of bag that I bought last year. Anybody else notice that with the pecan bags at Costco? Cranberries. Cranberries would be good. What did I do with the spoon that oh, here it is. I've had a lot of friends tell me that they used to like take sweetened condensed milk as a kid and just eat it with a spoon. That was one thing I never did, but we honestly never really had this much as a kid. So that's probably why it was never an option for me. Chopped figs. I could totally do that. You guys are going to turn this into a grandma's fruitcake recipe. Alright. So there we go. Got our condensed milk on there, sweetened condensed milk. Don't use evaporated milk. It's disgusting. I mean, it's good for things, but not for this. Okay. So that's what it looks like. Okay, so 8 minutes. So I'll have to put another 8 minutes on once those ones pop out. Toffee, chopped figs, cranberries, pecans, figs, dates, pretzels. Pretzel pieces might be good. They would. I like the way Kelly's thinking. All right, does anybody have any questions? Maybe you popped on, you missed the beginning. If you missed the beginning, you basically just take a stick of butter, needs to be melted. You can either put it in the oven and melt it in the oven, and then take the hot pan out and then do it there, or you can just put it in the microwave for about 1.5 minutes, melt it, and then you need to add 1.5 cups of graham cracker crumbs. You can take whole packs of graham crackers, crush them really, really good, and then measure out 1.5 cups, Or you can just use this and it's half of a bag, or a cup and a half of these for another dried fruit. See, it's funny because I don't think of coconut as dried fruit because I think dried fruit's gross. But I love coconut. Although I like cranberries and I like dried cherries, but like a lot of the other, like dried bananas make me want to vomit. I just have never liked them. Dried pineapple I don't like. I don't really love raisins that much. Although I like them in Raisin Bran Crunch, but it has to be Raisin Bran Crunch. Just normal Raisin Bran, and I think it's disgusting. Fresh shelled pecans in Georgia are $9.99 a pound. Wow. I think mine was a 3-pound bag. I don't know. Let's look. Oh, no, 2 pounds. So 2 pounds was like $12.99, which I was all excited because a lot of times these are like over $20, so I was all excited, but then I realized they just shrunk the bag. Crushed pretzels with butter for on the bottom, caramel, chocolate chips. Now you're just making a whole nother recipe that sounds delicious, Miss Kelly. Okay, so we have 6 minutes until I can pull those out and show you guys what they look like. I apologize, this is the boring part. Who wants to ask me 20 questions? Actually, I'm gonna take the 6 minutes to tell you guys about my son. So my son, Matthew, was born November 18th, 2001, and during all his ultrasounds and everything looked normal. Everything looked good. It was a really hard pregnancy, and I was kind of on bed rest off and on, and I just had horrible cramping the whole time. Like, it was a really hard pregnancy. Had him, he looked normal, he acted normal, beautiful little boy with a full head of hair. I actually didn't hold him a whole lot when he first came out because there was so many other people there excited. He was the first grandkid on one side. I mean, I held him a little bit. I breastfed him and then just let him go spend time with everybody. And then he went to the nursery. Well, he went to the nursery and then he didn't come back from the nursery because when he was at the nursery, they noticed he wasn't oxygenating quite as well as he should have. Sing a song. Oh no, this will be better. I'm slightly tone deaf. And then, the pediatrician that came in actually is now a good friend of ours, but he luckily was a little more in tune because what we found out was Matthew is hypoplastic left heart, which means he's missing the whole left side of his heart. So the largest, strongest functioning part of your heart didn't develop. So most people have 4 chambers in their heart. Matthew had 4 chambers, but the 2 that are supposed to be the biggest, strongest didn't develop, and so they were non-functional, and so he just had the right side of his heart to work with. And so we then had to make a decision to, one, just do compassionate care, which they said in the next 48 hours to 2 weeks, his PDA valve will close and we'll just let him pass away peacefully in your arms. Or you can, and I call that compassionate care, or we can try to life flight him to Seattle, Portland, or somewhere else, I don't remember, and we can try to let him have open heart surgery if he's a candidate. Or we can send him to California or to the Mayo Clinic and put him on a transplant list. But most of the time, the babies don't last long enough to be on a transplant. So at that time, honestly, I was a farm girl. I'd never been on an airplane. I couldn't comprehend how any of this worked, and I was so terrified. The only thing that seemed, and I didn't want my baby to hurt, so I thought, and they only gave him a 30% chance of the surgery even working. And he would have to have at least 3 open heart surgeries over the next 4 years. And that just seemed mean to me. And so I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to make this decision. So my husband made the decision and he was like, absolutely, we're going to give our kid every chance in the world. And so we chose to let him have the surgery. Right after we made that choice, they came in and they said, your patient's crashing, which meant his PDA valve had closed. So we would have only actually gotten like another 20 minutes with him before he died. And so luckily my husband had made that choice, and we then intubated him, and then he was life flighted to Boise. He couldn't get stabilized in Boise. He then he was life flighted to Seattle Children's Hospital. I then joined them 3 days later. I'd had a traumatic delivery, couldn't fly just yet. I then joined them, and when we got there, they said he wasn't a candidate for surgery because he was too sick, too weak, and just not, he would die on the table. And so my husband pleaded with the surgeon and said, no, 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 no. I understand. He's going to die anyway. So at least let him die on the table, knowing as a father that I at least gave my son a chance at life, because if he's going to die anyway, let's get it, let him. So anyway, I flew in, saw him on the operating table, ready to be operated on, gave him a kiss, and then I was wheeled out because once again, I had a traumatic delivery and couldn't walk very well. And then he had the open heart surgery, and he didn't do well in surgery. They couldn't get him off a bypass. So in that surgery, they put him in a hypothermic freeze. They actually stop his heart. They kind of changed the anatomy. He did okay during the surgery, but he wouldn't come off of bypass. So the doctor came in and said, we've tried everything. I'm sorry, it's just not working. So that time, I was still in my mind thinking, how on earth am I ever going to raise a child that has all these medical needs? I'm looking at the next 4 years of surgeries in and out of the hospital. I don't know how to do any of this. I'm super overwhelmed. So part of me just felt like, okay, well, he didn't make it through surgery. We gave him a chance. Like, we tried, but like part of me felt, and you guys are going to judge me for this, but part of me felt like slightly relieved, because I was like, I don't know how to do this. And at least we tried. But then when they came in and they told us that he wasn't going to make it, I then realized that's not what I wanted. I wanted him to live. I wanted him to be okay. And this wasn't about him. This was about me, and not seeing my own worth and not seeing my own ability to be able to learn and care for a special needs child. And so at that point, I left the room and I went to the bathroom stall and I just cried my eyes out and I said a prayer. I kneeled right down there, even though I could hardly walk. And at that time, I had probably the first conversation that like I really felt, even though I couldn't see my Father in heaven, you can't see God, but like I knew that God listened to me, and I felt overwhelmingly that he knew my situation. And at that time, I told him that I was willing to accept my responsibility as a special little boy's mom, and I didn't know how, but I was going to make it work, and we were going to figure this out together, and that this was my calling, and I was willing to accept it, and that I was sorry that I didn't have faith in things before. And so I walked out of the room, went back into my husband. My husband didn't know all this happened, and then the nurse came running back in, and they're like, we don't know what just happened, but he's off a bypass now. Everything's very tentative, but he's alive. And so that for me was, God answered my prayers. He was aware of our situation. We did Ooey Gooey Bars. Another 8 minutes. And that started our 3 years of in and out of the hospitals all over. And he's our little miracle boy. And he struggled, and a lot of kids that have hypoplastic left are big, normal. A lot of them have no special needs. Our son is really tiny. He's about the size of a typical 8-year-old. Developmentally, on the Sabar, he's between like 3 to a 10-year-old function, even though he's turning 18 on Monday. But we love him, and we wouldn't change anything. And so we're grateful for our time with him, and we know that he's still every day's a gift, because he's technically still in heart failure, and eventually he'll need a heart transplant. But we've had 18 beautiful years, and so these Ooey Gooey Bars are going to help him celebrate those years. So, all right, so can you guys see that? Super yummy, delicious. You don't want to cook them much more than this, otherwise they really just kind of get too hard. But at the same time, if you don't cook them enough, then they're kind of soggy in the middle. Oh, thanks, Elaine. Yep. I know, look at him now, right? And here he is asking for Ooey Gooey Bars for his birthday. He was tube fed for 4 years. There was actually one point where I was already called Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil couldn't help me, but somehow I thought I was just so emotional because I was just trying to figure out how to get my kid to eat and how to deal with it all. And anyway, but it's been worth it. So, okay, that's what they look like. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening to my story. We sure appreciate you guys. So the upper half would be the sliced almonds. The lower half would be the cashews. This is an amazing, you can eat them right away, but they really do they do better if you let them sit for a couple hours and they kind of firm up and they turn into a bar. But honestly, once they're cool enough to eat, our family eats like half the pan. So All right. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. We sure appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.